canned cocktails, and more. Details at specs.com. Cheers to savings.
Another warm one today, low 90s for the high, just a slight chance of rain, typical summer-like stuff. It's going to feel like 102 and near 80 for the low tonight. 92 for the next couple of days as some sun, some clouds hang out, but then rain on the way Sunday going into Monday. It could see a decent amount of that and a little bit of cooler temperatures on the way with that as well. So keep it here for the latest. Today we could see some wind gusts of 20 miles an hour or so out of the south at 10 right now. Humidity 85%. Listen anywhere. We're streaming live online at HoustonPublicMedia.org on the app as well. KUHF Houston News 88.7. The service of the University of Houston. Stick around. Houston Matters starts right now, 9 o'clock.
Texas has released its latest high school STAAR end-of-course results, and for the first time in years, students across the state showed gains in every single tested subject. I'm Craig Cohen. Today on Houston Matters, what those findings suggest for Texas and, more specifically, for Houston ISD.
Houston Matters with Craig Cohen is a production of Houston Public Media with support from Baylor College of Medicine.
Also this hour, Houston City Council voted Wednesday to pass Mayor John Whitmire's budget, which, yes, includes a trash fee. We'll learn more. Then, are the trade-offs of technology worth it? Plus, summer reading and singer-songwriter Mary Gauthier. Thanks for joining us on News 88.7. Remember to check out our live video feed on Houston Public Media's YouTube channel. We'll start with a news update from NPR and News 88.7. Stay with us.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. President Trump says the U.S. will launch heavier attacks on Iran tonight. He made the claim on social media this morning. The two countries have been trading military strikes since the downing of a U.S. Apache helicopter Monday. President Trump blamed that on Iran. NPR's Danielle Kurtzleben has more.
The president has continually made threats and pronouncements about the war on social media, and this latest post amps up his rhetoric. He wrote that the U.S. will be, quote, hitting Iran, adding later in all caps, very hard tonight. Trump also threatened to attack Karg Island, which is central to Iran's oil exports. However, Trump told Fox News this morning that the U.S. and Iran are still in talks. He added that he doesn't want to have boots on the ground, but that if he wants, he could send in, quote, a small group of soldiers. President Trump has said many times that an end to the war could come imminently. Earlier this week, he said an agreement to end the war could be coming within days. Danielle Kurtzleben, NPR News, the White House.
Stocks opened higher this morning as the Labor Department reported a bigger-than-expected jump in wholesale prices. NPR's Scott Horsley reports the Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped more than 400 points in early trading.
Inflation at the retail level hit a three-year high last month, but inflation at the wholesale level was even higher. The Labor Department says wholesale prices in May were up 6.5% from a year ago, while retail prices rose just over 4%. The news suggests businesses are absorbing some of those cost increases for now, rather than passing them on to consumers. Prices around the world have been climbing since the U.S. and Israel launched a war against Iran, disrupting shipping traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. In response to higher inflation, the European Central Bank raised its benchmark interest rate today by 0.25 percentage point. Here in the U.S., the Federal Reserve is expected to hold interest rates steady when policymakers meet next week. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
Billionaire Elon Musk is preparing to launch the initial public offering of his company SpaceX tomorrow. SpaceX seeks to raise $75 billion selling shares to the public. NPR's John Ruwich says the company intends to massively grow.
Its IPO plan says the company wants to grow and develop its rocket business. They plan to grow Starlink, that constellation of communications satellites that they have. And they're making a huge pivot into artificial intelligence. Earlier this year, SpaceX bought another Elon Musk company, XAI. The IPO prospectus says SpaceX plans to grow its AI computing infrastructure on Earth, deploy orbital AI data centers, and even develop and manufacture AI chips.
NPR's John Ruwich reporting. The co-founder of Microsoft, Bill Gates, testified behind closed doors with the House Oversight Committee yesterday. Lawmakers questioned him about late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. In prepared remarks, Gates said he never witnessed or knew about any of Epstein's crimes. You're listening to NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Lilly Endowment, a private foundation supporting NPR's coverage of religion and spirituality. And Jarl and Pamela Mohn, focusing on civil liberties, foster youth, public radio, and the arts.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Matt Harab. The Houston ISD Board of Managers may vote on next year's budget proposal at tonight's board meeting. News 88.7's Bianca Seward has a preview.
A draft of the budget shows the district is preparing for a loss of roughly $50 million in state funding. That's because of declining enrollment. The district expects to lose another 4,000 students next year. They plan to offset those losses by saving $50 million through several school closures they made this year and by cutting hundreds of central office jobs. Part of the plan also includes allocating nearly $5 million to pilot Miles' new Future 2 school. That program will launch in 9 elementary schools this fall. Students at Future 2 schools spend half of the day taking classes that prepare them for a world with artificial intelligence. The board must approve a budget before the end of the month. I'm Bianca Seward, News 88.7.
Stay here. Bianca is standing by with the latest STAAR test results for HISD and other schools in the area. That is just ahead here on Houston Matters. Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo is planning to propose a county-wide mental health leave policy at Commissioner's Court today. News 88.7's Sarah Grunow has that story.
Hidalgo plans to direct county offices to draft a policy authorizing paid mental health leave for employees across county departments. In a statement to Houston Public Media, Hidalgo said employees suppressing mental health challenges can affect their performance. She said productive workplaces allow employees to take a day or two for their mental health before it becomes an issue. Commissioners authorized mental health leave for some county workers in 2022. In 2023, Hidalgo took a brief leave of absence from her role to receive treatment for clinical depression at an inpatient care facility outside of Texas. I'm Sarah Grunow, News 88.7.
And a man has been charged in the death of a woman whose body was found in Brays Bayou on Memorial Day. 22-year-old Daniel Saron was taken into custody yesterday. KHOU reports that he's being held on $500,000 bond and is set to appear in court tomorrow. Officers had been investigating the death of Persia Conway for the last 2 weeks. I'm Matt Harab, News 88.7.
This is Houston Matters. I'm Craig Cohen. Good morning. Thanks for joining us here on News 88.7 and Houston Public Media's YouTube channel. Coming up this hour, are the trade-offs of technology worth it? Also, summer reading and singer-songwriter Mary Gauthier. First, though, the state has released its latest high school STAAR results. And for the first time in years, students across Texas showed gains in every subject, from algebra to U.S. history and beyond. Here in Houston, HISD is out ahead of the statewide grades 3 through 8 release with its own preliminary data. And the district says the numbers point to real momentum 3 years into the state's intervention. Bianca Seward covers education for Houston Public Media and joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning, Craig.
All right. First of all, high schoolers statewide improved in all 5 tested subjects. How significant is that, especially after pandemic-related learning? We saw those test scores drop the last few years.
Yeah, it's a significant improvement. After the pandemic era, we saw, understandably, those scores plummet. There was a real loss there in terms of learning and being able to perform well on those standardized tests. So to see, consistently now students across the state surpassing those scores and kind of recovering from those losses and really getting their footing back was significant improvement.
Now, yes, with numbers are up across the board from last year compared to pre-pandemic levels. There's some are up and some are lagging. So first of all, one of the biggest jumps forward, biology scores rose 9%. The state is back at pre-pandemic levels there. Algebra's lagging, though. Just 54% of students met grade level. It was 62% before COVID. We should also point out, we're talking about high school test scores, and if you go before COVID, it's a different generation of high schoolers, so we're not comparing the same students by any means. Nevertheless, that's what the statewide scores show. How about here at HISD? 3 years into state control and controversial changes in teaching. What are we seeing?
Yeah, HISD is making big improvements in a lot of those similar subjects as well. And the district here was able to recover from those pandemic losses or those slumps a little bit before the state. So we are seeing the test scores are rising here in HISD. And there's a lot of debate as to what that is attributable to. But we are seeing improvements, especially in that Algebra 1 and English 1 areas.
I think there's no debate in the mind of state-appointed Superintendent Mike Miles about what's causing it. He's confident that this is evidence that the district's new education system reforms are working and that HISD has surpassed state averages in algebra, biology, and U.S. history. He sees a connection there. Do we know, though, how the data actually breaks down between NES campuses and the rest of the district?
We don't know the exact breakdown yet, but we understand that district administration officials here are very excited by the scores, the improvements in the scores, the large gains that they have seen. And yes, Superintendent Mike Miles does see a correlation between the NES changes, that very regimented curriculum that has a hyper focus on testing outcomes. And he has been, very transparent about kind of the goals here about the curriculum and how important testing is not only for the schools but the district. I mean, the accountability ratings here are largely based on those test scores, and they can make or break schools and districts. So there is that definite connection that Mike Miles sees between the success of the test scores and NES working. There's a lot of debate on the ground, though, as to whether that's a correct correlation to make.
HISD also released a preview of its elementary and middle school results. These are grades 3 through 8. What do we know so far?
Yeah, they're touting some of the same gains in reading and math, particularly at that middle school level. We have not been given access to that data from the TEA quite yet. Those scores will be publicly posted on June 16th next week. And once we're able to get that data and really dive in to see the fuller picture of it, we'll have our own articles and our own write-ups out about what we've seen in the data. But for right now, HISD has some of that preliminary data that they've been given, and they're reporting big gains in reading and math, especially at that middle school level.
Why is the district getting out ahead of that statewide release?
Yeah, I mean, they're privy to some of the data that we aren't yet publicly to. So I think that they're putting out what they're seeing, and they want to post the positives that they see.
HISD has had a turbulent year, test scores aside. There have been enrollment declines, of course, the special education controversy, debates over NES expansion. That's been going the last few years. Does a strong STAAR showing change the broader conversation about whether this intervention's been worth it?
I think that depends on who's having the conversation as to how much it changes. STAAR scores play a central role here in Texas in evaluating the overall success of a school. So I think if you're a district administration official or maybe a principal, you're going to be looking to those STAAR scores and you want to see them rise. You want to see your students passing those benchmarks or improving on those scores. But testing, when you speak to education experts or public education advocates or, pretty much anyone in the education sphere, they're very it's a controversial topic to see how much we rely on testing scores to tell us how successful our education is or how successful our students are. So I think in terms of STAAR scores on the rise, it's debatable whether that really moves the needle in terms of whether you think the district is moving forward in the right direction.
STAAR testing is being phased out, though, right? Also?
Not necessarily. It's being reformed. So last year, the legislators passed House Bill 8, which really changed some of the way that STAAR tests are administered. Instead of that one long yearly cumulative test, it's going to be broken up into 3 tests. A couple of those are going to be shorter. So it's tweaked, it's reformed. It's definitely not going away. We're not going to see the end of standardized testing here. That will still exist, but it's changed a little bit. And some parts of it, when I talk to education experts, some parts are not changing enough, if you want to get into that. There's one aspect of STAAR that people wanted to see change. It's how much of a role it plays in the accountability ratings. For high schools, it's a very large part of the accountability rating. And for elementary schools, it's the sole factor in the accountability rating. So while they're changing how the test is administered, the crux of the concern, a big core concern for people, is how much the test scores play in the overall success rating of the school.
I guess also a big question is, will it still be an apples-to-apples comparison? If they're changing the way it's administered and making tweaks to it, will scores in future years, can you really compare them to previous years?
Yeah, you might still be able to compare them. I mean, also what we need to remember is that the STAAR exams, even though there will be 3 over the course of the year, the last end of year exam is the one that's going to be evaluated and go into that accountability rating. So the Texas Education Agency gives every school and district here an A through F rating, and those are critical scores. I mean, districts and schools, they're made or broken by these accountability ratings. They're the reason behind some state takeovers, 6 state takeovers actually. So they're critical. They play a real central role in whether you get to keep the autonomy of your district or your school. And so when I talked to Bob Popinski at Raise Your Hand Texas, he explained that end of year exam is still going to be the only score that is considered when these accountability ratings are doled out. And so
we haven't really escaped from that end of year test, high stakes, high stress pressure situation because we're still looking to that one test to evaluate schools.
Bianca Seward covers education for Houston Public Media. Bianca, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Houston City Council voted 15-1 Wednesday to pass Mayor John Whitmire's $7.5 billion budget for fiscal year 2027. It is a spending plan that introduces new fees on trash collection and city water infrastructure to help close a projected gap of more than $200 million. Houston Chronicle City Hall reporter Abby Church has been following the budget debate, and she joins us now. Abby, good morning.
Good morning, Craig. Thank you so much for having me.
The two big revenue moves here are that $5 a month solid waste fee, at least $5 a month for the next year. That may go up in future years, and a right-of-way charge on Houston Water. How did the mayor frame those to the public? How did council members respond?
So, I mean, when you're looking at Houston's budget issues, these have been year-long issues, right? Like, this is something that people have been aware of for a very long time, especially city leaders. But there have been very few solutions to all of these deficits that Houston has had for decades, frankly. So when you're looking at the mayor's framing of this, Whitmire definitely went in and said, this is going to be something that is going to help us eliminate deficits, not only right now, but in the future, but also get the city off a financial cliff that it has been, like, quite frankly, standing on for many, many years.
The vote was 15-1. Was that margin a surprise?
I don't know if it necessarily was a surprise. The Councilmember Edward Pollard was the only one who ended up voting no on the budget. Councilmember Tiffany Thomas was also absent from the meeting, but Pollard brought up the same concerns that a lot of people have had with the proposed budget, like the strain on the combined utility system that is going to be funding solid waste moving forward. Some of the issues with we don't really know how the plan is going to improve department operations yet, and a lot of things about the assistance for low-income residents who maybe $5 is going to be a little bit too much of a strain on their budgets.
Aside from Pollard, City Controller Chris Hollins has been critical of this year's budget. Of course, he's been critical of almost everything the mayor has done or said, but he also doesn't get a vote on something like this. Did his campaign against this budget in the end have any real influence?
You know, I think it's hard to say. One thing that I will note about the city controller is that person's job, whoever is in that position, is to be the financial watchdog for the city. So even though they don't necessarily have a say in the decision at the end of the day, although they do certify the budget, that is a person who is supposed to call out, hey, I see this problem with it, I see that problem with it. And of course, we had the big social media campaign from his end that a lot of council members are actually pretty upset with. But yeah, I mean, I do think the way that he won out in the end is he was able to get a bunch of residents on his side. And he did a whole bunch of town halls, too, where he was going around and explaining, hey, here's what's actually happening, and actually did a pretty good job of like just reaching people and getting out to them and just explaining here is exactly how it's going to impact you.
You mentioned council members upset about a social media campaign the controller put out. Can you give some details on that?
Yeah. I mean, when you're looking at the controller's social media account, I mean, they were just posting like funny memes based on like the budgetary things that were happening. And there were a couple council members. I remember a couple weeks ago, there was a moment where one council member basically was asking the controller, like, do you think this is a professional way to conduct your social media account as a controller? You know, but yeah, no, that was just one little tiff in the budget this year.
Mayor Whitmire calls this a structural reform budget and says it avoids a property tax increase for the third straight year. Issues like how much overtime is paid out to police, well, that still remains. Will this budget help to eliminate some of the chronic deficits that do come up each year?
You know, it will if the budget goes up. What am I trying to say? The current plan right now is to keep it at $5 for the next 2 years, right? So it's going to be $5 for fiscal year 2027 and fiscal year 2028. And after that, the city is going to be voting on whether they increase it anymore. The administration's plan right now is to take it up to $25 by 2031. But like when you're looking at how much Houston is charging for a garbage fee versus other large cities, this $5, like it pales in comparison to what other cities are charging, right? And when you're looking at the study that the city had commissioned to look into, okay, how much should we be charging for a garbage fee if we are charging a garbage fee? Even that study recommended charging even more. I believe the amount was around like $35 to $40. But yeah, I mean, even that $25, we are not entirely sure whether or not it's going to solve everything. Like, I mean, every single year the budget is not perfect, right? It's a step forward. It's not entirely perfect. But I do think it's going to help a little bit, but when you're looking at the cost of services and how much that is going to increase over the next couple of years, the number of people that might move to Houston, people who might move away from Houston, there are a lot of things in flux that are kind of unknowables right now. So I think it's just one of those things where only time is going to be able to tell, but it is a step in the right direction.
The answer to my next question may also be a time will tell sort of thing, but at least one council member, Amy Peck, said she would personally push to repeal the administrative fee, the trash fee, if solid waste services don't improve. How realistic is that kind of accountability? I mean, is there any mechanism to enforce that, yes, they'll successfully collect the trash everywhere every week?
I mean, there's definitely a good reason for her frustration. You know, like when you're looking at solid waste, like entire marquee of services, there is not a single one, whether it is residential trash pickup that you get every week, recycling pickup, yard waste pickup, heavy trash, addressing illegal dumping. There is not a single service that this department provides that is not struggling a little bit, right? And when you're looking at the way that the administration rolled out this budget, there were not very many deliverables they were able to give. So when you're asking, how exactly is this going to improve the department? They were able to say that this $5 was going to help go toward purchasing some new trucks and new vehicles. Everyone knows solid waste has had a problem with its equipment, and that's one of the reasons why the delays are the way they are. But yeah, I mean, there hasn't been very much there, and there hasn't been very much clarity. I know public works officials, they're now running the department, but they're supposed to come back in the next month with some performance measures to see, okay, here's how we're going to measure success at the department. Here's what that's going to look like. So we're going to see with that, but I was a little surprised that they didn't have those ready ahead of the budget announcement, because that seemed like very important to know. And there were a lot of council members that were very concerned about it, and residents as well, and community advocates.
Any other takeaways from this budget and how it will affect city residents?
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I keep hearing over and over again is like, oh, it's only $5. What's the big deal about $5? And I think the people who say that lack a lot of context around the city of Houston budget and the problems that the city has faced financially over the last couple of years. And one of the things that I always say is like, people don't really pay attention to government until there's an issue that's slapping them across the face, right? So I mean, with solid waste services, that is something that is affecting all of us very intimately. It is something that is definitely impacting everyone's quality of life all across the city of Houston. And that $5, even though it doesn't seem like a big deal, that is potentially going to go a long way in helping improve the department, even though we don't know how exactly yet, and whether or not that $5 is going to make a super big difference. But it is a pretty big deal when you've had a history of mayors not making a decision to increase revenue at all when the financial issues have been so steep.
Abby Church covers City Hall for the Houston Chronicle. Abby, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
And up next, every technological advancement comes with benefits and trade-offs. Well, some seem to have benefits for others, but only trade-offs for us. We'll discuss as Houston Matters continues on News 88.7 and YouTube.
I'm Jesse.
You count on Houston Public Media. That's why you're here right now. Take the next step and become a new member today. Every gift makes a difference. And with a gift of $5 a month or more, you'll receive PBS Passport, a member benefit that lets you stream more of the shows you love anytime. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. Join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
Listeners like you, and from Baylor College of Medicine. Baylor's work centers on advancing health and medicine through research, education, and patient care.
Support comes from Metro. World Cup planning includes transit improvements intended to serve Houston after the final match. Metro provides bus, rail, and paratransit service and continues mobility enhancements across the region. More at ridemetro.org/Metro Now.
This is Houston Matters. I'm Craig Cohen. Last week, during our latest Houstonian pet peeves discussion, we dove into a conversation born from a couple of peeves about technology. One came from a listener who was frustrated by his own reliance on backup cameras in his car that helped contribute to him damaging it, parking in a garage. Another's tired of two-factor authentication on everything. Sure, it's more secure, but it's growing more and more complicated to do relatively simple things. As we grow ever more dependent on technology, are we prepared for the trade-offs it requires? When we have such questions about consumer technology, we turn to longtime Houston Chronicle tech columnist Dwight Silverman for guidance. Dwight, good morning.
Good morning, Craig.
As we chat, we welcome you to our conversation as well. Are there some technological advancements that you think have simply gone too far, that demand more of us than the benefit they provide justifies? Let us know. Call or text 713-440-8870, email talk@houstonmatters.org, or comment on the live video stream on Houston Public Media's YouTube channel. Let me throw out another example as we get this rolling
Okay.
here. I might have mentioned before that in my apartment complex, there are now 3 different systems that I use to get through a series of doors and gates just to get to my home. One is an app for a gate, another's a fob for a hallway, and then there's a digital keypad I have to tap in 8 different places just to unlock my door. I used to have a key. Pull out the key, turn the key. Done. It's very secure. No one's going to break in and steal my 17-year-old television. I don't know why anybody would want it, but it's there. It's also much harder for me to schlep anything home and navigate all of this stuff. I even got locked out of my own apartment one day because I had transposed 2 of the taps that I'm supposed to do. I'm not sure it's worth it. Is it?
It is if it's well designed. That's a bad design. That's not necessarily the fault of the technology. That's the fault of the company that owns your complex, because it should be just one. You know, we at where I live, which is a condo community, it's just a fob, and you can do everything you need with just that one thing. That's bad design. At some point, if enough people complain, they might rework that and make it so. But I'll tell you what, the thing that probably is the real devil in that is your phone.
Yes.
And that is using an app
Yes.
to control something. Is there at your complex a secondary way? Can you also use a fob or a card? It is only the app?
Only the app, and if Wi-Fi goes down, guess what?
Right.
That gate doesn't go
Right.
up.
So that's a bad design.
Yeah.
And you should talk to your management about it.
I
And
talked when they were doing it,
Uh-huh.
and the system that had been in place was a fob.
right.
And they decided this was more secure. The other argument I was given was we have residents who are losing their keys, but they don't lose their phones. This is the world we're in.
Yes, right, right.
I accept a lot of that.
Right.
But I think that's the point of our discussion here is we keep accepting a lot. Every time there is some little change, it doesn't seem like a big lift. It's a small thing. We had the suggestion during the pet peeves discussion about two-factor authentication. Well, that's kind of everywhere. But also the way it works keeps changing, and it's becoming a little more elaborate. Now that second factor might be maybe you get pinged in an email, and so now you got to maintain a specific email account that applies to that one thing so that you can access that one thing, which might in some cases be, I don't know, email.
Right. Well, two-factor authentication, let's just say right now at the outset, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It keeps you, my bacon has been saved many times by somebody trying to hack into some account I have, and the two-factor authentication comes up and they can't get to it.
Right.
And it's also a technology that's evolving. You know, it started out with just code sent via email and text. Now it can be an app on your phone, the authentication number on your phone, like Google Authenticator.
Right.
It can, and now there's also passkeys, which use your face, your fingerprint, or some other type of biometric thing. And so there's we're at a stage where there's multiple things, and it's evolving towards something that'll probably end up being simpler. The thing with technology is that it always starts out like a hand crank on a car. Back when that's how you started a car, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it evolves towards something like we have today where you just push a button in your car and it starts. And that's really simple. But it takes time and effort to get there. As you know, my column in the Chronicle is ending. The one on June 21st will be the last one. And when I announced this on social media, somebody at the Chronicle sent me a booklet that I had written years ago in 1995 about how to get on the internet.
Wow.
And I go back and read it now, and it's so complex and so difficult, and the concepts you had to know. This is before the web took over.
Right.
And so, but now you just pick up your phone and you open it up and you're online.
Speaking of importance of technology, can I have you shift closer to your right so that you're in front of that microphone?
There we go.
Thank
you.
Let's take a call. We have Daniel on the line. Daniel, what's your thought on this?
Well, you guys were asking how much is too much, and I would say it's all too much. I think that it's designed to make us dependent upon it, and I would say as somebody kind of strange, but I'm 66, but I choose not to have cable. I choose not to have Wi-Fi. I don't own a computer, and it's a lifestyle I choose. It's not easy to do. You are forced, so I have to go to the library when I want to use a computer. Of course, you have your phone, so it's a device now that everybody has all the time, and people can't seem to put it down. A couple of years ago, I left social media and took my life back, and I would say that it's all too much, but some of it, you know, it is convenient. You know, obviously GPSing and going stuff, but then again, don't get me started on the invasive, because then they know everything all the time about everything, and then just wait till these machines, all these data centers get hooked up. They're going to call them cell phones for a reason, because they are. We are dependent on our phones, and we are in a sort of technological cell, and it's all a little bit too much. So when you ask how much is too much, I think it's all too much. I grew up before the moon shot, so you have to understand. I saw it all happen and experienced every second of it.
All right. Thanks for the call. We appreciate it. He makes an interesting point about the fact that he has chosen to break away from all that tech, but that it's not easy to do that.
No, it's not easy. And you know, when I initially talked to your producer about the topic, one of the things I said was I think we kind of, in terms of the way we must interact with tech, we have reached a point of no return. I mean, it's there, it's integrated into the society. There are people like this caller who has been able and tries to not interact with it as much. He still has a phone. He loves the GPS, right?
Yep.
But it's still, and that's harder than doing it the other way. You know, because I am not going to be doing tech coverage anymore, at least as far as I know. Well, who knows what the future brings?
Right.
I don't need a new iPhone every year because I'm not going to write about it. I really like having smart stuff in my house. You know, being able to, when I get ready to watch TV, say, Alexa, it's TV time, and all the right lights go out and the backlights on the TV go on. You know, I like that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more I could do, and I might have done it if I'd continued exploring it, but I probably won't. And so I have to think now about what I'm going to shed.
Well, and we all do that.
Mm-hmm.
You describe that, and I immediately think to myself, that is something I'm never going to want. And the reason I'm never going to want it has nothing to do with the TV or the lights or the convenience or inconvenience of turning things up or down or on or off. It was the Alexa part, because that's, to me, an open microphone.
It is.
I spend all day, every day at work
with
in front of open microphones. Right. I know what they do. And so when I'm at home, there are no open microphones.
Right.
But everybody's got to make that choice. And,
yes.
And yes, you sacrifice some convenience, but you also gain a little privacy.
So recently, we had to buy a new range, stove, oven. We decided to get a higher end one because we wanted induction cooking, which cooks with magnets, and it keeps the kitchen cooler, and it's much more energy efficient. It was impossible to find one in kind of the tier of features we wanted that didn't have Wi-Fi connection built in. And I thought, what am I going to do? I don't need Wi-Fi in my stove. But I found one good use for it. And so I connected it up. And that is that you can add features to the stove, including the ability to have it automatically keep the time correct and change on when daylight saving time comes along. To me, it was worth it for just that one connection.
I would think the one connection that would be most important to me would be if there's a way to remotely turn the stove off.
You can. That's another thing.
Shut it off. That I get something like that.
Right.
But the refrigerator, do we need a smart refrigerator, or do we just need a refrigerator that keeps things cold?
Well, there is a good use case for a smart refrigerator. If there are some refrigerators that have a barcode reader in it. You know that your milk is low, and so you pass the barcode over it, and it generates a shopping list for you. Do you need that? No. But for those people who want that, there it is. That's that level of convenience.
How much of this is about app developers, technology, just anybody that is involved in creating any kind of tech, getting out ahead of their skis on some things and saying, well, we're going to use the public to beta test everything, to work out the kinks?
Oh, that happens. That happens. And but the market is the market. And if people don't want to use a product or find that it is not worth that trouble, then the history is littered with tech products that didn't go anywhere because ultimately they weren't good. The one thing, you mentioned developers and people in Silicon Valley and folks who are working on this and getting out ahead of their skis. A lot of times they are developing products for themselves and their peers, and they think everybody is as technologically savvy and wants that much in their life, and they don't. One of the interesting things, this week, Apple released its new operating systems, iOS 27, macOS 27, and so forth. And it has the new upgraded Siri AI. And it's just, and it is the promise kept supposedly that was made in 2024 when Apple couldn't deliver on the new Siri. And people who have downloaded the beta notice that you can't turn off Apple Intelligence like you used to be able to. I don't know if that will stay. These are test versions, but that's it's Apple-esque to let people turn it off if they want to. It's also Apple-esque to say, we know better than you do. It's staying on, because that's how Apple works. Yep. It'll be interesting to see what they end up doing with that. I hope they allow people to turn that off.
You can read Dwight Silverman's technology column in the Houston Chronicle for the next couple of weeks anyway, and I suspect he will continue to join us when we come across some consumer tech trends worth discussing. For now, Dwight, thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
Just ahead, here's a low-tech suggestion. Put down that phone and set aside a little time this summer to read a book. You know, those old-fashioned analog devices with ink on bound pages of paper? We discuss summer reading as Houston Matters continues on News 88.7 and YouTube.
I'm Ernie Manous on the next Hello Houston.
It's not just your car. It's the one that brought your kids home from school, took you cross-country, held memories, laughter, even a few breakdowns. When it's time to let go, give your car a new purpose. Donate it and turn memories into meaningful support for this station. Plus, you'll enjoy free and easy pickup, potential tax benefits, and a simple donation process. Your gift supports the programs you and your family love. Donate today and help keep public media strong. Call or donate online.
University brings to you The Vibe, R&B, hip-hop, and neo-soul, music that resonates with all ages. The Vibe on 88.7 HD3 and on the Houston Public Media app.
Support comes from the Grand 1894 Opera House presenting the Texas Tenors. Celebrating their 15th anniversary, the vocal trio will perform selections spanning country, classical, Broadway, and patriotic music. July 3rd, tickets at thegrand.com.
This is Houston Matters. I'm Craig Cohen. Life is hard. The news cycle's intense. A little escape's good for us all. And in the summertime, that can mean road trips or movies or concerts or maybe, just maybe, and I know this sounds like a radical idea for some Houstonians, maybe you open up a book and read it. Joining us now to offer some reading suggestions are Celeste Blue, Outreach Manager for Partnerships and Programming at the Fort Bend County Libraries, and Valerie Kaler, owner of Blue Willow Bookshop. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
And Celeste, let me start with you. Fort Bend County Libraries are offering a summer reading challenge for kids. This is a longstanding common concept for libraries. Why do you do it?
Yes, almost every public library in any state is going to have a free summer reading challenge or summer reading program. So please get out there and get incentivized for reading. So this is for birth, age 0 up to 99 years old. Anyone can get prizes for reading this summer at your public library.
It's not just kids who benefit from reading, of course. Valerie, how can it be helpful for people of all ages to at least occasionally put down that smartphone and pick up a book?
Well, I find that most people like to do that. They do want to put their smartphone down. And in our case, it's community. It's people reading and coming in. We have 7 book clubs that meet in the bookstore. So it's community. It's reading and talking about it.
I don't want to get too deep into our discussion without noting that you brought a whole stack of books.
I did.
Can you share? I assume these are a couple that you're recommending for summer reading?
I did.
What
So
do you
I
have
brought
in
some
mind?
fun summer reading. Catherine Sinner, local author. Her book set on a romance set on a cruise ship. Emma Straub, also set on a cruise ship, American fantasy, about a woman in her 50s who goes on a boy band cruise.
Okay.
It's quite funny, but also quite thoughtful. I brought 2 nonfiction. So we started a new nonfiction book club. And one of them is our friend Isaac Fitzgerald, who has written kids' books and adult books. And this is about walking the path of Johnny Appleseed. So he takes you into the life of Johnny Appleseed, but he also he walks the path.
And that book is called American
Rambler by Isaac Fitzgerald. It's very good, very introspective. You can imagine taking a long walk. Now, I will tell you that he does buy a car along the way.
Okay. And that other nonfiction
And then the
book?
last one is one of our favorites of the year, Family of Spies. Christine Kuhn finds out from a documentary filmmaker that her grandparents were actually Nazi spies.
Oh, wow.
Nazi spies based in Honolulu before and during the attack on Pearl Harbor. And it reads like a novel. It's fascinating. She interviews her father, who was a young boy at the time. Of course, as you can imagine, he says, we don't talk about that. And it's true.
Yeah.
Her grandparents were Nazi spies. So all kinds of reading.
Celeste, you've got a couple of suggestions as well for this summer?
Yeah, definitely. Mine are more on the children's side, and we definitely love our Houston area authors. One of my favorites is Alda P. Dobbs, who is seen all around town doing all of the great events around here. Some of her books are for middle grade authors. One of them I really love. It's The Barefoot Dreams of Petroluna. We also have another Houston-based author that I've been following for quite a while who recently passed away this summer. Her name is Sanyuna Tanda, and she writes books for children set in Uganda. So I think that's really great and really fun. Arte Público Press, I would be remiss to not mention them. They are a great local publisher here in Houston who offers, who has an imprint called Piñata Books. So a lot of those books can be found online, can be found in different fairs and things. But if you really want to know what's happening in my household, the favorite books in my home, I have a 4-year-old myself. They are Butterface series by Carrie Lavelle and Black Mambas by Kara Kroll, which is a nonfiction book about the world's first woman-led anti-poaching unit. So those are some of our favorites over here.
Valerie, I know a lot of folks enjoy audiobooks, and there is certainly that's better than no books at all. Some people are very busy. It's a godsend for folks who have low vision or vision problems. Aside from that, do you think, though, it's a different experience from actually reading?
I do think it's a different experience, but I consider it reading. I am a huge audio listener. I was listening on the way here, driving this morning. I listen all the time. I have a son who's an architect, works for a local firm. He also listens all the time.
Are there some books you'd point to or book series or genres that you'd say, you know what, they might even be a better experience as an audiobook versus reading?
For him, he likes to read spy thrillers and listen to spy thrillers and things like that. I kind of lean a little bit more toward history. I love to listen to history rather than actually reading it.
Yeah.
And I learn a lot. There's so many things. I'm listening to one right now called Resistance, and it's fabulous. It's great history.
Celeste, what are some of the more popular genres these days for kids specifically?
Yeah, definitely. So audiobooks, there are a lot of studies right now that show that listening to audiobooks does the same thing in your brain as it does to when you're reading in the book. It may not be direct literacy related, but it definitely gets a lot of the enjoyment out of the literacy. But there are so many different avenues for reading, online reading for students. We have so many different databases online that you can read along with the book and listen online. But some of my favorite podcasts for students to listen are Ryer's Readers. They're audiobooks for younger children. So this morning we listened to Grumpy Monkey, which is a very popular children's book through Ryer's Readers. And they have a great paying attention question at the end that children love to answer. And then also there are a lot of different podcasts. Like there's one by Radiolab called Terrestrials that's family friendly. It's not an audiobook per se, but it is about nature. And I've found that a lot of times whenever you listen to something, especially it's literacy related, it brings conversation to families, and then you find things that you want to delve into deeper.
Okay, and I imagine whether we're talking about for kids or adults, there are a lot of genres that are popular right now, Valerie. in
Yes.
particular, that you'd point to. Just pick one.
Pick one for adults or for
adults.
For adults, I would say more and more we're seeing people really reading science fiction, which before COVID we didn't sell any science fiction, and now we seem to be doing that.
Valerie Kaler owns Blue Willow Bookshop. Celeste Blue's an outreach manager for partnerships and programming at the Fort Bend County Libraries. Thank you both very much. Happy reading.
Thank you.
And still to come, a chat with longtime folk and country singer-songwriter Mary Gauthier ahead of her concert later this month at the Heights Theater. Stay with us as Houston Matters continues on News 88.7 and YouTube.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're watching right now. So take the next step and become a new member of the station you rely on. Every gift makes a difference. And what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. So join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
Francis Lamb, host of The Splendid Table. This week, it's a feast of big flavors and big questions of how we embrace our cultures. We have the fabulous Puerto Rican food editor Monte Carlo with her new book, Spanglish, and the young but wise Sang Duangdara talking about the Lao kitchen. It's coming up on The Splendid Table.
That's Sunday at noon right here on News 88.7.
Since the late 1990s, Mary Gauthier has broken barriers and redefined what it means to be a singer-songwriter. She only seriously started playing music at the age of 35, writing and performing songs that reflected her struggles with drugs and alcohol, then her path to sobriety. She's since recorded a dozen albums. She's a published author, even an accomplished restaurateur. Gauthier will perform later this month at Houston's Heights Theater. In 2024, she told Houston Matters producer Mincho Jacob that as an openly gay artist, she was a part of some firsts early in her music career, but that these days her sexuality, as far as the folk and country world is concerned, doesn't really matter much.
It's not like my songs are gay.
Right.
I mean, I don't even know I'd write a gay song, but I don't need to talk about it. It's obvious.
Yeah.
What I prefer to talk about is the art itself, but I'm not unwilling or aggravated when asked to talk about it. I see myself as a bridge builder, to be honest. My role has always been to connect communities through my music that don't necessarily know each other.
Right.
Like I'm the introducer. I love that I've had the great privilege of being a person that has done that in my life. Most recently with the military and wounded veterans to help them to articulate and deal with PTSD and trauma.
Who's gonna care for the ones who care for the ones who went to war? There's landmines in the living room and eggshells on the floor.
And I love these people, and we're a very similar makeup, even though I just told you I've always perceived myself as an outsider. The thing that I've found in my old age is most people feel that way.
Rifles and Rosary Beads is the name of the album.
Yeah.
That you did with the military.
Yeah.
It really was a beautiful project, and you gave voice to people who might not have been able to put those stories out there, right, of traumas they dealt with.
Yeah, and the bridge that the songs built wasn't between LGBTQ people and the military. It was between people who've served and civilians. Because an awful lot of civilians don't know people who've served at this point. We think of it as a Grand Canyon almost, divide between military families and most civilians. Again, songs, in my understanding, do great work as bridge builders. They connect people at the place of the heart, and the differences fall away. The magic, of course, is empathy. And a great song is empathy, in my assessment. It reminds us that, gosh, we're not that different. We're all vulnerable, mortal, and here for a short while.
But I'm a soldier too, just like you, serving something bigger than myself. And I serve unseen.
I also find it really interesting that you were a chef and a restaurateur for so long. Music is so important to us, and it is something that people love, and it's touched on, such as food. And I wonder if you do kind of reflect back on your life in the restaurant industry ever. And...
Well, I think that the music industry and the restaurant industry are both service industries. I think that my assessment of my job as an artist is to be of service. When I get in front of an audience, I want to give. And what I want to give is connection and resonance. I want people to feel and remember their humanity. That's a huge service to people. And the arts, especially music and song, is a superhighway to that.
Charlie and I flip burgers to cover the rent, and bourbons at happy hour for 35 cents.
I'm not a professional chef by any means anymore, but I think there's a lot of overlap in the mission statement. Is it's service. You're serving people. Even if people cry at a song, they thank me. So what is that experience? I think that experience is even if it's got tears in it, it is pleasurable because it's a connection that we long for.
My father could use a little mercy now. The fruits of his labor falling right slowly on the ground.
As I understand it, you actually sold a share of your restaurant so that you could finance drag queens and limousines. Did that risk feel very big to you to be able to do that, to jump into being a full-time musician?
Oh, that was terrifying. It took probably 8 or 9 years. It was a process more than an event. I was playing music and songs around Boston, and I became more and more passionate about it, and it called to me more deeply than the restaurant did, and I was terrified of that. I didn't know if I was able to support myself with music and song, so I resisted it and continued with the restaurant until I reached a point where it's like, what the hell? Let's just go for it. You know, I told myself if it doesn't work in music, I can convince people of means to open a restaurant, you know? So fortunately, I have not had to do that. And now I'm of the age where I couldn't do that. I'm too old to open a damn restaurant. My mojo for that is long gone. I'm extremely grateful that since 2000, I've supported myself with music.
Yeah, we all could use a little mercy now. I know we don't deserve it, but we need it anyhow.
And would you recommend to folks to take a dive? I mean, you were almost 40 when that happened.
I was 40. It's old. Let's get real here. I often feel like Forrest Gump of the music business, but I think if it's calling to you and you have to do it, you have to do it. There's no stopping you. And that's what it's going to take. You have to be unstoppable for this to work. And once I committed to it, I was absolutely going to kick down doors to make it work. And that's how I am. That's how I ended up with 3 restaurants at 24 years old. Extreme workaholism, ambition, like focused every day, hammering, and making it work. If you don't have that, it's going to be hard. You got to want it with all your heart and dedicate your life to it. Not just the creative part, but the business part. You've got to really be willing to do this 24/7. And half-hearted attempts don't often succeed at anything, but especially in the arts.
Thinking about where you are today in music, folk music, Americana music, it's changed a lot, even since 2000. You know, I think of country music kind of in that broader music too, where you have stars like Shabuzi.
Someone pour me up a double shot of whiskey. They know me and Jack Daniels got a history. There's a party downtown near 5th Street. Everybody at the bar get tipsy.
Blake Shelton, Tim McGraw have covered your songs, and you have folks like Orville Peck who perform with Willie Nelson.
Cowboys are frequently secretly fond of each other. What did you think all them saddles and boots was about?
What do you think of this moment in Americana and, you know, this broader embrace of what it is? Do you think that's something that will continue to grow in the future of who can be in this genre?
How could it not? The young people are going to kick down doors and make it happen. They're going to blow up on the socials like Shabuzi did, and they're going to find a following. And this business here in this town has always been about, can you bring butts to the seats? Can you move the dial financially? Mm-hmm. And if you show up with energy behind what you're doing and you're a talent that has gathered an audience, they're gonna do business with you. I think that inevitably there'll be much more diversity. They may not want it, but they will monetize it. They're not going to go looking for it, but it's going to come looking for them.
I mean, you have on the one hand, you know, that try it in a small town kind of songs that are more conservative, but it seems
to a certain demographic.
So the money will talk no matter what.
That's always been Nashville. That's not new. There was a thing called the Nashville Sound. And they asked Chet Atkins in an interview, I think it was in the 70s, hey, Chet, what's the Nashville Sound? And Chet put his hand in his pocket and shook some coins. He said, there you go. There's your Nashville sound. It's a business.
Well, I bet she's not like me. She's out and fancy free, flirting with the boys with all her charm. I felt the flames on my face when I found the nerve to meet your eyes, so green.
Can somebody come to Nashville and, you know, break into the career? Is it changed a lot for somebody to kind of work their way up to being a singer-songwriter?
Happens every day.
Still to this day.
Yeah. People come in and in short order, they're writing songs and doing writers' nights. They get a cut. They get a publishing deal. The publisher runs their songs up and down Music Row looking for a record deal. They get a record deal. Next thing you know, it's happening.
Gave me the strength to speak when my voice was weak and words hard to find. Your faith in me was solid and it stood me up when I could not steady mine.
Mary Gauthier there talking with Houston Matters producer Mincho Jacob in 2024. Gauthier returns to Houston for a concert at the Heights Theater on June 25th. And that will do it for today's show. The Houston Matters team includes Michael Haggerty, Joshua Zinn, Brenda Valdivia, Mincho Jacob, and Laura Walker. Jared Carroll's our technical director. Remember, you can check out Houston Matters anytime, subscribe to our podcast for the audio, or visit Houston Public Media's YouTube channel for the video. On tomorrow's show, ahead of the first Houston-hosted World Cup match, for those among us who know little to nothing about the sport, our Laura Walker talks with Nick Green, author of How to Watch Soccer Like a Genius. Also Friday, our non-expert panel tackles intrigues in the news on the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm Craig Cohen. Join us tomorrow for those and other Houston Matters.
On the podcast After the Flood from the Texas Newsroom and PBS's Frontline, we meet people who survived last year's floods in the Hill Country and those who lost loved ones.